Well, hello and a very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening, Ninthers. I'm hoping you all are doing well and you all are doing fine. After that lesson in history, I guess in the same day you'll be having the same person speaking up two different subjects. That does become a tad bit boring. But then you'll have to manage, or better still, you just watch the videos one at a time, or you just watch one video today and the other video tomorrow. Whatever it is, please, before that, please, whatever doubts you all had in the previous lessons or in the previous video lectures, please mention it in the comment section. There was a doubt of Piyush, and in which he did ask me about the human causes of earthquake. Now, when we are talking of the human causes of earthquake, one of the most important human cause of earthquake is the building up of dams. When we are talking of a dam, what actually is a dam? Suppose, okay, I have a book over here, and this is the wall of a dam, and this wall of the dam is the river is flowing from this side. As the river is flowing, the water is getting stored behind this wall of the dam, and slowly some water is released from the other side. So you all see, whenever you all have seen a dam, you all have seen that there's a huge reservoir on the side in which the river is coming from. So there's this huge reservoir which has been formed. This huge reservoir has been formed first by removing all the villages, trees, forests from the neighboring areas, and by digging up the soil. When the soil is dug up, a reservoir is formed, a depression is formed, and that depression is used to store the water. Now, when that much amount of water is stored, so I'm talking of this reservoir. This reservoir in some dams can be as long as 20, 30, 40 kilometers and as wide as again 20 to 30 kilometers. So you can understand how much amount of water will be stored in that much amount of area. So that much amount of area is storing huge amounts of water. So this area will be storing huge amount of water, and when there is a huge amount of water, that was not the way actually the earth was intended or designed, was it? No, that extra amount of water, that extra load on that land has been put by us humans. So what is actually happening is that, suppose this is the area below the water reservoir. What is happening is that there is a huge amount of water on the top of it, and that huge amount of water is exerting a lot of pressure on the rocks which are there directly beneath that reservoir, and also the rocks which are below that direct rock. So there are layers of rocks beneath that reservoir, as you all know there will be, and that huge amount of pressure of the water is exerting a lot of pressure on these rocks which are lying beneath the reservoir. As a result, what may happen is that if there was or there is some kind of a soft portion in these rocks, or some kind of a fault is there in the rock, what may happen is that those faults will get activated. I have talked about the activation of faults in the previous videos. So those faults may get activated, and when older faults get activated or newer faults are formed due to huge amount of pressure on the top, then earthquakes may occur. I hope this was clear to Piyush. And also, if anyone else had the doubt on this particular topic, similarly, if you all do have doubts in any topic, please mention it, so that in this video or in any other videos comment section, so that I can get back to you all. So in the previous video lecture, we were talking about gradation, weathering, erosion. So when we did talk about gradation, how the surface of the land is gradually leveled. And when we talk of gradation, gradation is actually composed of two things, or comprising two opposite things. There is degradation, and also there is aggradation. When we talk of degradation, it is the leveling down of land, or high land is leveled and made into a low land. What happens actually after that is that amount of, or the weathered material, the amount of weathering which has happened, those materials which have come up after weathering, those materials are carried forward by the agents of erosion, and they are deposited on the lowlands, and those lowlands now become higher in height. So there is that those lowlands where the deposition is happening and the height is increasing, that is called aggradation. So there is degradation one side, aggradation one the other side. What do we know about weathering, or what is actually weathering? Weathering is nothing but the breaking down of rocks. That is the most simplest definition. The breaking down of rocks by agents of weathering, and those agents of weathering can be wind, rain, frost. You have water, you have heat, temperature. So that is weathering. And when we talk of weathering, let us just talk of there are three main ways how weathering is, or how weathering happens. The first one is physical weathering or mechanical weathering. Second one is chemical weathering, and the third one is biological weathering. When we talk of physical weathering, the first and the most important way weathering is happening is by or due to the action of heat. If you all do recall in 7th standard, I did teach you all about this physical weathering of heat. It will be a recap for you all if you all do remember. And if you all do not remember, please keep it in mind this time. So when we are talking of weathering by heat, what actually happens is that you all know that rocks, you all see rocks are found, or small stones, pebbles, they are lying anywhere on the ground. And you must have some time or the other in your life have picked up a rock, just maybe for the fun of it, or just to throw at someone or something. You all have picked up a rock. And when you all pick up a rock, and when it is there lying in the sun for so many hours, when we pick up that rock, what do we feel? The surface of the rock is very, very hot to touch. And if we try to hold that rock in our palm for a very long time, we may feel very hot, and we may also burn our palm. So we all know on touching that the surface of the rock is very hot. And also at some point of the other, you may have broken a rock. You may have thrown it on the ground. You may have just done something so as to break a rock. You may have hammered it, whatever it is, and you may have found a broken rock. And when the rock got broken, and if accidentally you all did touch the interior part of the rock, that broken surface of the rock, you must have felt that the interior part of the broken part of the rock is colder than the outer part of the rock. What does it tell? It tells us that the rock which is getting heated by the heat of the sun during the day, that heat is only hitting the upper part of the rock and not the lower part of the rock. So this very simple thing which you have experienced in real life is how rocks are getting broken down by the action of heat. What happens is that during the daytime, as the temperatures keep on rising, the outer surface of the rock, the outer surface gets heated up very much. And the outer surface, as you all know, it is getting heated up. What happens when a body gets heated up? It expands. So the outer surface expands, and when the outer surface is wanting to expand, it is trying to come up, pull away from the inner surface, the immediate surface which is beneath the outer surface. So the outer surface is wanting to pull out because it is trying to expand. Now as the outer surface is trying to expand, what is happening is that there is some kind of a force which is being exerted by the outer surface on the inner surface. Now as night starts falling, and as evening falls and night comes, the temperature again goes down drastically, and the outer surface now cools down. So there is this cooling, and as it cools down, what happens is that it will now, you all know that when something cools down, it contracts. So as the outer surface cools down, it is contracting and it is exerting an opposite pressure on the interior layers. So now in the daytime, the outer surface was wanting to pull out. At night, the outer surface is pushing into the inner layers. No, so what is happening is that there is two different or two opposite tensional forces acting on the inner layer and the outer layer. During the daytime, it is pulling outside. During the night time, it is trying to push it inside. So this keeps on happening repeatedly, and as it keeps on happening repeatedly, what happens after some time is that, or after a few days or maybe a few weeks or months, what happens is that due to that extra pressure which has been built up, the outer layer chips off, or the outer layer breaks off from the inner layer, and one layer gets broken off. Now what happens is that the layer which was just below the outer layer, now that layer becomes the outer layer, and that layer also, on that layer also the same thing starts happening. It starts cooling in the at the night time, or in the night time, and during the day it starts heating up. So there is again opposite heating and cooling, and that layer will also again fall off. So this way the entire rock starts peeling out, or it starts falling off. So this kind of a weathering is called exfoliation. Exfoliate, you all know exfoliation, girls may be knowing it better. There are face masks and they exfoliate the dead skins. Similar is the case over here in the case of rocks. The outer layer is getting exfoliated, it is chipping off, it is getting chipped off, or it is falling off, and the inner layer is now becoming the outer layer, and that inner layer is also suffering the same fate. Gradually what is happening is that the entire rock, from this bigger rock, it starts getting smaller in size, and a time comes when the entire rock is broken down. So this is what you know as exfoliation. Exfoliation is nothing but like an onion peeling. So like the layers of onions which are peeled, over here also the layers of the rock is getting peeled due to the alternate action of heating and cooling. There is alternate expansion and contraction. So this results in exfoliation, and this is the most important way how rocks they disintegrate due to heat. Now I'll be leaving it till this much in this video. In the next video we'll be talking of other modes of weathering, and if you do have any problem, once again please mention it in the comment section. Till then, please take care and stay well. Thank you.